Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me, another Elon alum. This is so rare. I don't think I've had many Elon alums on the show, Alex.
Really?
No.
So I'm like one of the first?
You're at least in the first handful of people.
Hey, the first handful is all that matters.
It's Alex Covello. Alex Covello. I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Elon honors. Alex Covello from BuzzFeed.
Oh yeah.
You just got signed the papers. Ink's dry.
All the electronic ink as dry as it can be.
E-signed, docu-signed, good to go. The bits and bobs have flown through the internet, through the pipes, and you've come in with an opinion that I screamed in all caps at my producer for.
Oh yeah.
For you bringing this to us.
Oh yeah.
He and I have been texting and talking a whole lot about it, which is this is going to be a very spicy episode. You hate Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
Oh boy. I can already feel the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up right now, Alex.
You know, I tend to have that effect on people, so that's crazy that's happening to you.
This is intense.
Oh yeah.
Like I have to preface everything we're saying with I'm going to try and be as impartial as possible. But I really enjoyed this movie in theaters. I think so far it's one of the best of the year. And
I have a comment about that. I don't have very high standards for this year. I am a movie snob. I'm gonna preface with that. I studied cinema and television in college. That was what my degree was in. So I'll say I found the movie very entertaining, but from like a cinematic standpoint, hated it.
Interesting. Now let me ask you this: as a cinema snob, like what's your style? Like what's your favorites? If you had to say maybe not necessarily like absolute top. But, you know, what's in the range of, like, what are some of the movies that would be in your top 10?
David Fincher and Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
If you're out there listening to this, hire me. Not actually, because I have a great job and I love my job. But you guys, chef's kiss, anything that they do, I will sit down and watch, and I guarantee you it will be good. You maybe just need to cut out, like, 30 minutes of each of the films sometimes.
Sure. So you like it dark, you like a gritty, you like a movie with blood, you like a movie with people backbiting other people.
But there's always like a dark sense of humor with them as well. And and you have to be, I like it that it's witty humor. It's intellectual humor. And I like recently with Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he did a spoof. And it was still realistic and it held a lot of truth to it. But at the same time, it was his own interpretation, and their artistic styles compared to others, I think is so individualized. Whereas like a lot of places are kind of just like plug and chug, like, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I like to think that the indie film kind of style is more my thing.
Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly. Sundance, baby, every time.
Yeah. But this is so, because I typically am in that sort of a vein also, right? Like I'm a big, Paul Thomas Anderson is one of my guys who I'm a huge fan of his work. Wes Anderson. I love Wes. I love the Andersons. Those Anderson boys, they really can't do anything wrong in my mind. But I also like one of my all-time favorite movies is Spring Breakers, which is a movie that is I think a lot of people look at it and they're like, this is just vibes. But also, I think it's got a really like deep level of satire to it.
You're talking about the one with like Selena Gomez and them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Incredible movie.
Wait, yeah, I actually agree with that too. I like it. It's good. It is about vibes though. I will say like that one's less about necessarily like a structured plot and more about the emotions that it invokes. But I think that at the end of the day, isn't that what film is supposed to do? It's more about the emotion, how you feel the attachment to it.
And that's the thing. Like I had never seen the original Top Gun.
Okay.
And I watched Top Gun immediately. Like I had some free time. I knew it was going to be going off Netflix soon. I had planned to go see Top Gun Maverick on my first day off from working this job that I just finished. And I was like, I'm going to go watch Top Gun. I didn't like Top Gun that much. Like I was like, this is fine. It's mostly vibes. It's like a cool thing that's happening. Like the soundtrack slaps and it's like the shots.
What's the main song in it? It's
Danger Zone.
Yeah. Welcome to the danger zone.
Yeah.
They do the instrumental versions in all of them, though, crack me up when you just hear the instrumentals. They're like flying. Yeah.
Yes. It's very, I mean, it's cheesy, but it's like, I also think that it's a movie that's like just got the slightest hint of plot, and it's really super slight. I wasn't really like captivated by it, and so I'd had pretty low expectations going into Top Gun Maverick.
Interesting.
And then I saw Top Gun Maverick, and I was brought to an emotional place, which I didn't expect.
See, I had like the complete opposite reaction.
Tell me about it.
I felt differently towards Top Gun, where I felt the emotional connection there. I felt like Tom Cruise was so young at that time and such a raw actor. And it's like at that point, I think, had he done Rain Man yet? Yeah, I think he had done Rain Man.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
I think he had done Rain Man because Top Gun was...
Top Gun, I think, was 87.
80s. And Rain Man, I think, was like 82, like something like that.
Oh, sorry. Top Gun was 86. And Rain Man was... come on up. Tom Cruise. Rain Man was... Oh, no. Rain Man was after that.
No way.
Rain Man was 88.
So I feel like... And then one was Risky Business.
Risky Business was 83.
Okay, so with this, I feel like this is where you see Tom Cruise's development, like into film.
Yes.
Risky Business, you see him young, he's cute, he's like getting a hand job on like a train, whatever, something weird like that's happening. Sure. Oh yeah, watch that scene with your dad. Let me know how it goes because I did it. Don't recommend. But he's young. He's the star of Hollywood. He's new faced and he's really talented.
He hasn't gotten his teeth fixed.
Yeah. Oh. But I won't take that away from him. Top Gun, I feel like he's coming more into his own, and then he starts getting parts like Rain Man, where his acting skills are really, really developing. And I felt like Top Gun was one of those movies where it was very transitional for him, and you can kind of see him invoking emotion within his characters and actually coming into them a little bit more.
Right, and like Top Gun, it was a movie. I mean, this is from his Wikipedia page. His status
so reliable.
His status as a superstar had been cemented, and then he's got right after that. He's got Rain Man is pretty close after that. He's getting some awards nominations for that. He gets awards nominations for Born on the 4th of July.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Which is right after that. Yeah, he's playing a vet in that.
Okay,
a Vietnam vet. And then we're going after this, he's in some really other great movies. Days of Thunder, Far and Away, Interview with the Vampire.
Right? Interview with the Vampire. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I wish that they had fixed their makeup. That's all I'm going to say about that.
But so you liked Top Gun.
Yeah.
And then you what was your experience like when you watched Top Gun Maverick? Were your expectations high because of how much you like Top Gun?
It wasn't. My expectations were high because of the hype around it.
Okay.
I had heard everybody telling me, every guy friend of mine was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's a bold statement. I've made that statement about quite a few films, but that's a bold statement to say, and you got to stand by it. And so I came into it with really high expectations. I'm a huge Miles Teller fan. Everything he does, like some of his best movies are like in my top 3. Whiplash, if you haven't seen it, you need to see Whiplash. Spectacular Now.
Great movie.
Phenomenal. And then there's a third that I can't remember the third one that I'm thinking of, but there's a third one that he's in that I absolutely love. I think he's wonderful. I think that he's also adorable. So I was really excited for him too, because I think he's kind of in that place where Tom Cruise was with Top Gun, where he's in that transitional, moving from being that like kind of teeny boppery star crush to being a legitimate actor. And was what I was hoping for out of Top Gun, was this being one of those movies for him.
Yeah. And especially, I mean, we all have this image of like, I'd never seen Top Gun, right? But I have this idea of like, Top Gun's this movie about it's mostly guys like playing playing volleyball on a beach, and there's cheesy 80s music and somebody dies.
The aviator glasses.
Exactly.
My guy friends for Halloween every year of college dressed up as the Top Gun suit.
And I will say, like, watching Top Gun Maverick, I was worried at first that it started out with a literal like frame by frame recreation of the opening sequence to Top Gun.
And if you continue throughout the rest of the movie, you will see it's just like playing Mad Libs. You take the plot of Top Gun, you fill in Miles Teller as Goose instead of Rooster, and then you've got Top Gun Maverick.
Now hold on. So this is where our things start to diverge a little bit.
Okay.
Here's what I am most intrigued by is I feel like Top Gun, barely any story. Top Gun Maverick has this actual like emotional weight of a story attached to it. In Top Gun, I don't give a shit about anybody. I barely care. Like when Goose died in Top Gun, I was like, okay.
They killed him off too soon. I will say that. You can't, they kill off like a major character halfway into the film, and then it's like you kind of just drop it at that. Like you just see like Tom Cruise has like PTSD from it, obviously.
Yeah.
And I actually like the fact that they highlight that kind of aspect for people in the military or in the Navy or whatever. I personally have never, the Navy and the military don't want me. Okay, trust me,
Same.
they don't. Yeah,
Me neither.
you're not meant for that.
No.
But it's like a very traumatic mental experience as well as physical, and I'm glad that they highlighted that to an extent. But then we get into Top Gun Maverick, and I kind of feel like they glaze over a lot of the actual depth and relationship and conversations that could have been had. And I think that to me is like, there's a story there, and they're kind of missing that aspect of things.
Interesting. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's a good point.
It's like, here's my thing, right?
That's a good point.
Can I
Good point,
do
Alex.
spoiler alerts?
Yeah, spoil away. If you
okay, great.
haven't
Sorry.
seen Top Gun by this point, then you're
living under a rock.
You're living under a rock. You're missing out on one of the
Yeah.
great cinematic experiences of 2022. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. In Top Gun Maverick, there's the scene at the end, and like there's been all this tension between Rooster and Tom Cruise. They basically, or not Rooster and Tom Cruise and Miles Teller, and they basically made Miles Teller the Tom Cruise of the previous film, and they've kind of made Tom be this like mentor towards him. But
Right.
the whole time they're waiting to have this like really intense conversation about the death of Miles's father in the film.
Who's Goose?
Who's Goose? Yeah, loving the names, by the way, throughout the
Goose,
entire film.
Rooster.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of birds out here.
Oh, yeah.
But they're like, we're gonna talk afterwards, and I'm like, okay, you're about to go into like a battle of the death. You really might not come out of it. Maybe have the conversation before. Spoiler alert, they get it. They make it out alive. Whatever. Afterwards, they just look at each other and they're like, nah, we're fine. We don't need to have that conversation at all. Hug it out. And I'm like, dude, you guys need to like work through it. You had a near death experience. That's cool and all, but like that didn't fix any of the problems from before.
See, this is the interesting thing. This is where I disagree. I feel like the whole movie, it's interesting that you're framing it and looking at it so much from like Miles Teller's point of view, right?
Oh yeah.
Miles Teller to me is not the Tom Cruise of this movie. Tom Cruise is the Tom Cruise of this movie.
See, here's my thing. You watch how many? Okay, so it's been how many years since they made Top Gun? So many, but it's like
30-something.
30-something
36.
years. I'm not a math person.
Me either.
Yeah, thank God.
Film people.
Yeah.
Through and through. Content creators, Alex.
Oh, dyslexic content creators for me at least too. That's when numbers get really tricky.
Oh, God.
But yeah.
I can only imagine.
Oh, you don't want to know. But but I will say, so like, oh my gosh, I totally lost my train of thought for a second.
So we're talking about Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise.
Oh, yes.
And not
Okay.
Miles Teller being Tom
Here's
Cruise.
my thing. Okay, so you take a look at the Indiana Jones series. Harrison Ford is like a Tom Cruise-esque type in those, and he's a heartthrob. Moms
Right.
love him. Younger,
Swashbuckling guy.
Yes. And a few years,
Sweaty.
oh yeah, like kind of badass.
Chest hair,
yeah,
yeah.
You like seeing him shirtless, but they can't have it throughout the entire film because
Right.
it distracts the audience.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
You see him come in with the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, fourth one, fifth one, whatever it is. They give Shia LaBeouf an opportunity to kind of come in and take over and possibly take over the series, do all of this, but his character development was there and they share it. Whereas in this one, I felt like Tom Cruise felt like he had to overpower and outshine Miles, and they didn't even give him They didn't even give him a love interest. Like they have this one girl in there.
Jennifer Connelly? Jennifer Connelly, Miles Teller's his love interest.
Miles
Teller.
They have the girl. It's very obvious that the girl is supposed to be like the love interest. You can't even figure out who it's for, if it's Hangman or if it's Rooster.
Oh, right.
And then the entire time, they don't even address, like, they don't give them lines or a scene together at all. And you're just kind of like, okay, so it really is about Tom Cruise, but then why bring in this spectacular cast? You have such a great cast with all these names. Half the women that are going to see it that are my age and younger, they're not going for Tom Cruise. They're going for Miles.
Right.
So then it's like,
But we'll see. But this is the way I came away from the movie was it feels like it's still Tom Cruise's movie because, I mean, his Maverick's right there in the title, right?
Yeah.
And it's Maverick's reckoning with what happened in Top Gun, which is whether he was deemed responsible for it or not, had a hand in the death of his best friend and his wingman.
right.
Who is also Miles Teller's dad.
Right.
He has to spend the entirety of Top Gun Maverick, which, of course, yeah, we don't see like stuff that happened to him in the 36 years in between.
A lot of things happened to him.
A lot of things happened to him. He had a whole relationship. They skipped a lot of stuff.
They just dropped Jennifer in there. There is no. I'm glad they moved away from the Graduate vibes of him like dating the older woman and
yeah.
Because it was like, oh, like how many times can you do that story in the 80s? Like, seriously.
I love a movie where people are dating age appropriately.
You know, Tom Cruise rarely does it too.
Yeah, Tom Cruise
really
absolutely doesn't do it.
You know what they need to start working on for Tom Cruise and his love interests? Having them be shorter than him. I'm tired of the close-up.
Though.
I know. Well, first of all, if you guys watch the film, he's wearing high-heeled boots throughout the entire thing.
Oh, I mean, that's Tom Cruise for you.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is Apple Box boy galore.
Oh, yeah. But it's like the amount of close-up shots that they have to do instead of like a wide angle or anything because they can't have the height difference and they can't show that she's taller than him. I'm like, come on, guys. You got to give me some change here. As the cinema person I am, I can't be looking at it all from the same frame.
We got to have, I can't think of, this is the downside. All of the like leading ladies in Hollywood are also going to be not short women.
Hey, I'm a short woman. We could be leading ladies.
Listen, short women in Hollywood historically just wind up being side characters, which is, I'm not saying how right or wrong that is.
Short Queen Summer. Short Queen Summer.
Look, if Tom Cruise is allowed to be a short king, we do need some more short queens on camera.
I'll be a short princess. I'll be anything as long as it's royalty.
There you go. But I mean, to the point of Tom Cruise, like this is still his movie, right? He's still got the reckoning that he has to have with what he's been holding on to and that PTSD that he's refusing to go away from until he's literally ripped away from it by the force of the U.S. military multiple times.
Yeah.
When they rip him away from keeping himself distracted by doing these hypersonic flights with the Dark Star.
Yeah.
By him being sent back into Top Gun and having to teach these people and then have to confront the son of the guy who he's thinking like, oh, I had a hand in the death of this man's, of his dad, and his mom told me to keep him out of stuff, and I've been trying to protect him my whole life. And to now know like, oh, I can't protect him anymore. I have to pass the torch on to him. But it's not really, and this is the other downside though, it's not really a torch passing movie.
I was going to say, so you hit the note. For me, you hit it right there.
Yeah.
It's a torch pass, but it is a torch passing movie. The whole thing is about their relationship, but it's not really about their relationship. It's about Tom Cruise's relationship with Top Gun. I will agree with you there. But then it's like, to me, then there were so many plots going on within the film that I felt like there wasn't actual one full plot either. I felt like so many things were left untapped and so many things were left like they just either dropped new information in that you're supposed to automatically know, or like they didn't address things half the time where you're just kind of like, I felt halfway fulfilled leaving almost.
Give me an example, because I want to see your point of view on this part, but I still feel like we are getting one plot, which is Tom Cruise is trying to reckon with his past in order to allow Miles Teller to have a future.
But then it's like, what about Miles Teller's past? Like, that was his father. We don't know anything about they don't address anything about his childhood or what it was like for him growing up without a dad. They don't address their relationship before he pulls him out of the Top Gun school. So it's like, you don't know if they were close. You just see that he has a picture of him from graduating something. You assume that they are, but then it's like, they don't. And again, and like the whole point, you're waiting for them to address the falling out and have that moment. And the only moment they have is them looking at each other and going, yeah, we're good. That was sick. We just save lives and that's it.
Sure. I guess I hate to say it, but I can't disagree with you on that.
And then
because that's literally like none of that's explored really.
Jennifer, I loved her in it. Loved her. Where the hell did she come from? Where did this he knew her child walking into the bar. I'm like, whose child is this and how does he know her?
They had a bad relationship before.
Yeah, and the child knew about it.
So the child said, don't break my mom's heart again.
That broke my heart, because then we all knew he was gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he wound up not having to, because he didn't die in.
But he would have.
The enemy country.
He would have though, and that's the real problem. He was like, I could break her heart again.
But you know what? It's probably better in the long run to break somebody's heart by dying than by just like ghosting them.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh, it is.
It's better that way.
Yeah.
Because then you don't feel like, oh, well, this person's just a piece of shit. No, they're a hero.
Yeah.
I can't be too mad at them for being a hero.
Spoken like someone who knows.
Look, I used to be a fuckboy.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Shocker. I've never flown a plane, but I have flown a couple relationships into the ground. You know what I mean?
What? If it's smooth sailing, I don't want it.
Yeah. Gotta keep some turbulence.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Jennifer Connelly is in it with the turbulence. Jennifer Connelly is somebody who I think is she's a great cast.
She was my favorite character in the entire thing. Her flirting tactics, by the way, I learned a lot.
Oh yeah,
and I'm going to be applying them to my life. So
as
boys, look out.
She's good. You gotta start carrying a bell with you at all times that you can start
just winging around
on the wall.
First of all, how much money do you think he spent on that scene when they make him pay for everybody's drinks in the bar?
I mean, it's a military bar, so probably not a ton, but it still also is probably a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's probably at least he probably dropped about $500 minimum.
Yeah. See, no, I don't have the means to be able to do that, even if I wanted to.
No.
No.
I mean, hey, he brought it upon himself.
He did. He disrespected a woman.
And he put his phone on the bar. That's 2 problems.
That's 2 right there.
Don't put your phone on the bar, Tom Cruise. Read the thing. You know this. You've been with this woman before. You probably made the same mistake before, you idiot. It
was just so weird, though, that they also, they expected you to know that bar. There was the old man in the bar, too, and he was just like, oh, hey. And I was just like, all of this feels like I should know more. And I feel like I felt like I was missing something almost. I felt like I was missing a key part prior to this where I was like, was there a Top Gun 1.5? You know how the Lion King used to do 1.5 too? Was there Top Gun 1.5 that I missed?
We needed a movie where Timon and Pumbaa and Iceman were all hanging out together, telling the story of what we missed. I
really would have gone to see that, I promise you.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I feel like we got, if we're from the point of view of whoever's sitting behind Tom Cruise, if we're his wingman in this movie, let's say,
yeah,
then I feel like we get enough information for his arc. And that's what keeps this movie, to my mind, as a good, well-executed movie. But I see your point. I wouldn't rate this movie 5 stars. I've seen a lot of people who are rating this 5 stars.
Yeah, no.
I would give this was an easy 4-star. I was brought to a point where I did almost cry at the scene where they're in the snow together.
See, I laughed in the movie.
It was so funny. That was a hilarious scene.
And it was, but there were even moments where I was laughing uncontrollably because it was kind of bad. Some of the soundtrack and the application of music to the scene was not lined up.
But that's just Top Gun.
I know,
that's
but then I'm sitting there cracking up in the audience because I'm why are they playing this music? At one point when I was in the theater, somebody literally yelled out the word "why." They just screamed. They were like, "Why?"
Wow.
And I was okay, see, I'm not the only one feeling this way.
Interesting. Because I've the only times so far that I've seen people who don't like this movie are people who are it's military propaganda. How can you like this movie? It's military I don't know why I'm talking like somebody who clearly supports the military with that accent. But yeah, look, if you're going to look at it from that point of view, sure, I can understand why you don't get it. You don't want to see a movie that has a bunch of military propaganda in it. Also, don't watch the Transformers franchise then, right? Why would you go see Top Gun if you expect it to be anything less than having something to do where it's going to cheer the military on a little bit?
Yeah.
But
I will say, I think some timing of it was not super great, and I think that was unavoidable. I just think that coming off of this isn't very funny, but coming off of what we've experienced in the past few months in terms of shootings and just things like that in nature, this is a great action-packed film. I love an action-packed film, but it's one of those things then where it's if we're going to sensitize a lot of things in the media now, but then we're going to go glorify all of this and have it be holy shit, this is the coolest shit, and here's everybody shooting guns, and this is why it is awesome. It does come into play where it's you got to sit back and maybe take a step and think, how are we kind of framing things? Because then on that extent, I just felt they played into a lot of stereotypes in the film.
Sure.
And that actually frustrated me quite a bit. I was a little disappointed in that.
I would love to hear more about which ones you feel like they played into too much.
I think that they definitely played into, they had one female pilot, and I love that they included a female pilot this time. Last time they had a female power woman as well, but she was dating her student, and a lot of times that gets a lot of flack and that gets a lot of hatred within the community. Mm. It's not necessarily always viewed as great, and I understand that it's kind of badass in a certain way where a woman is the teacher, and that's sick, and especially in a military base that's not very common. But then in this one, if they're gonna have a woman be in it, and they were not very nice to her. They were making a lot of rude comments. There was the one guy, Hangman, was
Hangman. That guy was such that talk about fuckboys. That guy,
for real,
absolutely a fuckboy.
And you could kind of see you didn't know if she wanted to fuck him or not either. She kind of did, she kind of didn't. She was kind of feeling that way towards Miles, and you kind of couldn't tell who she was going for. But at the same time, if they're gonna have somebody making those types of comments, it's definitely realistic. But then don't let her not say anything. That pissed me off. They didn't have her stand up for herself. They didn't have anybody else stand up for herself.
Didn't she stand up for herself in the pool scene though at the very beginning?
Like a little bit, but then it's just like,
giving him shit.
She was giving him shit, but then it's like, okay, they're gonna be there in class, and Tom Cruise, you're gonna hear him literally like say some terrible shit to her in the middle of class, and nobody's gonna say anything. You're supposed to be like a team. These are supposed to be the people that back you up in a fight, but you can't even have them say, no, she's a badass woman. Because then for me, it's like, why bring it up at all? Why have this woman and then just kind of bring her down? I
feel like I hear what you're saying, but I feel like we also get to have that moment when, I guess this is the downside too. We have that moment to some degree when it is revealed that she is one of the top pilots and she makes the mission over Hangman, for instance. But also that moment it's not played for her. That moment is for Rooster.
Yeah.
That moment is for coming off of him being this person who you're like, well, he's not gonna make it. He's not gonna get there.
I just feel like if they were going to bring it up, which they did, they brought it. I don't think that they needed to address it at all. I think that they could have just had a woman pilot in there and that would have been that and it would have been fine. I don't think, but the fact that they started making like the anti-feminist comments, then I was like, you kind of got to do something about it. They didn't really have to have that be a part of the plot at all. Because in this day and age, you do have women in the military. You do have women pilots. Yeah. It's normal. They definitely do get hate like that. And I'm not saying that that's changed, but it's like, if you're going to put it in the movie, you got to women out there like are going to see this too that might want to be the fighter pilots, and then they're like, well, shit, do I really want to do that now if that's how it's going to be? Like, that sucks.
Yeah. We'll look, you are, again, you're not wrong. You're coming in, you did your research.
Oh yeah,
Alex, you know what you're doing. Here's a question that I have. So you felt entertained.
I did.
Right? You did. You did come away from the movie feeling entertained. We both talked about this. We both have had, like, there are points in this movie that brought us to an emotional point, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like there are, like, for you, what's the difference between where this movie brought you to emotionally that keeps this from being good cinema as opposed to just, like, like a blockbuster movie?
I could have predicted the entire film within the first 5 minutes, in which I did. And to me,
so did I. Is this bad though?
See, to me, like, if I'm going to pay for popcorn, a drink, and a movie, I want to be like so enticed that I don't feel like I could have walked out and explained the movie before I even saw it.
Okay.
That to me is like, especially with this day and age and inflation and all that shit. Like, yeah, like I don't want to.
That's why you just got to get AMC stubs. You don't have to worry about it.
Oh my gosh, but it's. Like I said, it was entertaining. I definitely found it entertaining. But like, how many times is Tom Cruise going to go up in the same? How many times in that last scene you were like, oh, they're totally going to try and shoot him down again? And I was like, why bring in Hangman if they had that whole scene and they're like, oh, we made it out alive? And then I was like, Hangman's still sitting there. Like, we got to utilize this character.
Right.
In cinema, you don't bring a character in unless they can drive the plot forward in some capacity.
Exactly.
They hadn't used him to drive anything yet. So I was like, well, they're obviously going to have him be the Iceman. Like, it was like, the parallels were so there and just so blatantly, obviously staring me in the face the entire time that it was hard for me to almost get past it.
Interesting. See, I don't mind a movie where in the script you can see the seams a little bit, because I feel like if you're going to do something predictable, do it well. Do like the best version of predictable that you can do.
That's fair.
And this movie does do the best version of predictable that it can do.
You know what? You've conceded to a few of my opinions. I'll concede to that. I do agree. It was predictable and enjoyable, and it was exactly what I expected, though. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of hoping for a little bit more depth.
I feel like the only gulf that we have between us on this movie, Alex, is that like you came in with higher expectations than I did.
You know what? I actually agree with that, but that's not my fault. That was everybody else's fault.
Exactly. Yeah. You came in there loving Top Gun and watching all these people like gush about the movie. I mean, as soon as I saw that it got like a 6-minute standing ovation at Cannes, I was like, did it deserve that?
I don't think it deserves it. Maybe 1 minute, but that's just for not the volleyball scene, the football scene. I would give that a 6-minute standing ovation.
Sure. You give that a 6-minute standing ovation during the movie. You're just gonna stand up there clapping the whole time.
The rooster scene, not long enough. Why do they only give him 2 seconds of dancing? And then again, Tom Cruise, shirtless throughout the entire, like basically the entire film, it felt like. Was he a producer on this?
Had to have been.
I was going to say, I think that Tom Cruise went into this film specifically asking to have more shirtless scenes than everybody else. In the closing credits, he's the only one that gets the beach scene placed in as his closing credits. Everybody else is like them looking cool and badass, and then it's like him and he's shirtless. And I was like, he totally asked for the last shirtless laugh.
You know, it's interesting too, because like, I mean, there's obviously a ton of glowing praise for this movie.
Oh yeah.
But there is some negative criticism too, and I think that it speaks to a lot of the points that you bring up. Like Alonso Duralde from The Wrap. Top Gun Maverick counts as a worthy sequel in that it succeeds and fails in many of the same ways as the original. It's another combat, male weepy, and military recruitment ad that feels like every World War II movie got fed into an algorithm. The flying sequences are breathtaking enough to make you forget that these guys and gals are engaging in the kind of combat scenarios that start wars.
You know what? I don't disagree. That's a really good summary.
Yeah.
That's a really good summary. And I will say, I like the fact that they used real fighter pilot planes or whatever. Like, they had really done their research. I was really impressed by all of that. I'm pretty sure they all did, like, really intense stunt training. I saw that Miles Teller had gotten really sick because he actually had ended up, like, ingesting some of, like, the fumes or the chemicals or something like that on the set. And I love all of that aspect. But like you said, I guess I just came into it with a little too high expectation. And then... I have one qualm I have to bring up.
Oh, bring it up.
Val. I love Val.
Kilmer.
I love Val. I love Iceman. I thought it was weird that they were texting the whole time, and again, like not a lot of emotion there. And then they bring him in, and I don't know if you know this, but Val in real life has lung cancer and is like really struggling. I believe it's throat cancer.
Yeah.
And he can't talk. He's really hasn't been acting. They had to stop, and I love that they brought him in. I thought that did the first film a lot of justice. Mm-hmm. Don't kill him off from the disease he's dying from in real life.
Maybe a little too on the nose.
Like way too on the nose. Like I was like I mourned the death of this man already, and he's not dead yet.
I do think if you're gonna again, this is going to like the predictability of it.
Yeah.
It was a move that I could see coming from several miles away.
They had to kill somebody off, and it wasn't going to be Miles, and it wasn't going to be Tom.
Yeah, it's not. And of course, look, Val Kilmer's still alive. You're going to bring him back in to be Iceman.
Yeah.
And I was kind of shocked in a beautiful way.
I agree.
At how much emotional resonance that just seeing the stuff on the screen. It hit me.
No, I agree. And like it was very Stephen Hawking of him, kind of, where he was like, it was very monotone with the computer talking, but it hit home. Because I think that a lot of it too, they bonded over that first film, and for them to be able to see this second film come to life for them, I think was huge. And I think that in a lot of ways it was really hard for them to recognize that they couldn't have had it even be that aspect of things. No matter what they did, that wouldn't have changed.
Yeah.
And that's because of like the issues going on in real life. But for them to be able to execute it as well as they did for that specific scene, I think it meant a lot to them. And that was the part of the film where I felt the emotion, but never between Rooster and him. And I think that that's part of the problem.
It's interesting because I felt the emotion between him and Rooster, but it's because I think Tom Cruise carries so much of it, but we never really do. You're right. We never get to see a lot of it from Rooster's side.
Yeah.
Now, I also don't think we're ever going to get a Top Gun 3
I don't think
to
so
have
either.
that. We don't need that. We barely had a Top Gun 2. There was an interview I was reading about the movie with Joseph Kosinski, the director.
Okay.
And he had worked with Tom Cruise on this movie Oblivion. I don't know if you remember that from like 2012 or 2013.
I don't think I saw it.
I did not see it either. It's a sci-fi movie. I'm not a huge
I stay away from sci-fi
fan. Yeah.
The space is scary, guys. Space is really, 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 really scary.
And this is a post-apocalyptic Earth sci-fi.
Yeah, no, I'm out.
So even scarier.
Yeah, I'm out.
We're there already.
Yeah.
But he had this interview where he talked about he was approached to direct Top Gun 2. He had this idea, and he hit up Tom Cruise, who was filming, I believe, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol at the time.
How many of them are there now?
They're coming up on like 7.
He was in like 5 of the trailers, too, that I saw before the movie. Tom Cruise has got a lot going on. He's been busy.
He's a busy guy.
That and Scientology.
I got to afford all the Scientology payments and all of the high heel boots. Got to afford your lifts.
You're forgetting about the tight pants.
I mean, I just try and forget about the tight pants as often as I can.
See, he doesn't want you to forget, and that's the real problem. The way that he was like sauntering around in the film with them, I was like, how are you walking? First of all, the high heels on, you're barely walking with those, and then the tight pants are barely letting you move.
He's getting them tailored for himself, though. Unless he's going to like Cole's big and husky section and getting the biggest child pants and then having them shortened and tailored, which also could be, he's got the money for it.
You seem very familiar with that process.
I did that when I was a child. Okay. I don't do it now. I'm wearing the shorts I'm wearing now. These are the same size as Tom Cruise's regular pants. Heyo.
I liked that one. I did like it.
Thank you. Now I've lost the train of thought of what I was talking about. Oh, okay. So he hits up Tom Cruise. He's like, hey, I'm coming to pitch you this idea that I have for Top Gun 2. Because they've been trying to make it for years.
Yeah.
Fell apart many times. And Tom Cruise says something to the effect of, well, whatever happens, it'll be great to see you either way. So Tom Cruise at that point, Joseph Kosinski takes that as, oh, we're not making Top Gun 2 unless this pitch is like out of this world. So Tom Cruise is, if he's not going to be involved in Top Gun 3, which I don't think he will be, you're not going to be able to pull him out of retirement again. He's already shooting another 5 Mission Impossibles after this. I can guarantee it. But we're not going to get a Top Gun 3, which would be the Rooster story.
Yeah.
And we're not, and I guess.
See, to me, that's like him holding on a little too hard. Like I said, like Harrison Ford let Shia come in, and if they wanted to like do a 5th one, they totally could have. They allowed for that room, and it's in this industry too. Like I'm sure you're very familiar with it. There's always room for growth. There's always every story you see is just a recreation of some other film. Everything's an adaptation of something William Shakespeare wrote. Very seriously.
Exactly.
And so the reason that we have like 5 Mission Impossibles is because it does work. This is Tom Cruise's biggest movie ever. It was that weekend, I think, was the opening box weekend, was like some of the highest that they've ever had like in movie history.
Yeah.
A 3rd one would do well. Everybody would go see it, but the fact of the matter is that they closed the door, and I think it's because Tom doesn't want to let somebody else come in. It's his baby to an extent, and I totally get that. But for me, it's frustrating then because you're going to bring in. There could have been more. There just could have been more.
I feel like this is something I've seen a lot of people talk about, and I agree with this standpoint, which is like this movie. I think what makes this movie work is that it is not just a sequel to a movie that everybody was like, wow, fucking rockin' movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie that it's like, you see Tom Cruise come to grips with aging a little bit.
See, I feel like he's putting it off in the movie at all. Like he's not coming to grips. Like he is like trying to deny it like nobody else.
But that's the thing. You're right. He is trying to deny it, but at the end he has to accept it. And but to the other point, instead he does accept it by the end, but he doesn't fully pass the torch.
Yeah.
That's where we got you.
Yeah.
He comes to grips. He accepts he is the martyr. He tries to sacrifice himself and move on because he thinks that's the only way he can do it, instead of just allowing himself to actually like do a normal human being thing and pass on the torch to the next
I just don't
generation.
think Tom Cruise knows how to be a normal human being, if I'm being completely honest.
I don't think he does
I don't
either.
think so, yeah.
I don't think so.
I'd love to see him on The Price is Right trying to guess what people like actually pay for the average like bar of soap.
It would be very I'm sure you're familiar with Arrested Development.
Oh,
it would be
we're
very
talking Arrested Development.
What does a gallon of milk cost, Michael? $10? What could a banana cost?
Well, there's always money in the banana stand, so it doesn't really matter.
There's always money in the banana stand. What do you think people should watch instead of Top Gun Maverick? But you should see Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, still go see the movie. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I did. I hated it, but I enjoyed it. I'll own up to that. I know. It was a hate watch for me. It was a hate watch along with the Miles Teller dancing shirtless for like a good amount of the movie watch.
You could probably, next time you see the movie, just keep yourself blindfolded, and then you'll know when.
Oh, I know.
You'll know because it's that one. It's not a One Direction song. What's the song that plays? Is it a 21 Pilots song?
I don't know, but why did you say One Direction with disgust?
No, because I was trying to remember. It's not a disgust thing. I'm just trying to remember who it was.
I will be a Directioner till I die, and I'll stand by that statement.
Show complete album. I'm looking up Top Gun Maverick music from the motion picture. One Republic. When that One Republic song comes on, and you know they're going to be playing shirtless football on the beach.
Yeah.
In a way that this football game doesn't exist. They clearly invented it for the movie. Even the characters, even Bashir Salahuddin doesn't know what's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
But it happened.
It does.
And it's just an excuse for everybody to be sweaty and shirtless again.
Yes.
What everybody came to Top Gun for in the first place.
I will say that is what everybody came to Top Gun for in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, like 1,000,000%. Like hands down. Nobody was going into it being like, yo, I can't wait to see these planes fly.
Yeah.
No.
We would really be in the danger zone if we did not get a shirtless men on the beach scene in a Top Gun movie.
I feel like we didn't utilize the pun danger zone enough in this.
We didn't. But you know what?
We can
still
now.
have a little bit of time. Okay, so Better movie you'd recommend people watch instead and not go into the danger zone.
Okay. This is a different kind of danger zone, but I recently watched Anthony Bourdain's Roadrunner. And it's kind of badass in a lot of ways, but it's a true story. And I think he kind of gives the same vibes of Tom Cruise if you're looking for that hot older guy that's like a little troubled. And definitely, I loved it personally because it's more about, I'm also a big foodie. So there's like a lot of beautiful food shots, but it reflects a beautiful story and a dark, sad story as well. But there's almost more closure in that than I got out of Top Gun.
I gotta watch that.
It's phenomenal.
I do love a good documentary.
Yeah.
I loved Anthony Bourdain as a human being. I wasn't like a huge, I did not watch a lot of his stuff, but every time I watched something of him, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed his ethos and his approach to life.
I think you would really like this documentary then because it's a very good story. Like there's actual depth and like an arc to it, which is nice and it's real.
Gotta check it out. Alex, you're making me change my mind on things.
I tend to have that opinion or that thing of people or whatever.
Well, now you're getting in the danger zone, not being able to say your words, which means it's probably a good time to get off this podcast.
Yeah.
Where can the listeners find you and your work if they want to check your stuff out?
Yeah, you guys could follow me on Instagram. It's Lex_Cove. But if you head over to BuzzFeed, you guys can see a lot of my work there. I do a lot of things on their Bring Me channel. And if you're a big foodie, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Covello's Cuisine.
Cool. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the podcast at Blockbusting Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
You got all the social medias.
I got all the social medias. I got all the social medias doubled now.
What?
Weird.
Whoa.
I know. It's crazy. That's the danger zone right there.
Now we've killed the danger zone just like they killed Goose.
Goose, no! And you know what else to do. You already heard about it. Tell a friend, subscribe, go see Top Gun Maverick, and go check out Alex's stuff. Alex, thanks again.
Thank you.
This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.